Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hey, fam. I am excited because we have a rare occasion that we actually get to talk to someone who not only understands publishing, but understands the audio side of publishing. So, welcome, Vaughn Fahie. Fahie, please introduce yourself. Let us know what company you represent and what you do as a voice brander.
Well, glad to be here, Dr. Pratt. My name is Vaughn Fahie, known as the Voice Brander. I am the CEO and founder of Audio Newborn Productions. It's been my production company, coming actually from the music side, because I'm also a jazz saxophonist since '99. And what we specialized and turned in is helping nonfiction authors mostly to self-narrate their books remotely from anywhere and around the world. And what we do is capture, polish, and distribute to several of the platforms that we'll talk about, I'm sure, and getting your voice out there. Um, the voice is the closest and the most human connection in communication, and so we take the words from papers to your playlist, and from in front of eyeballs to earbuds, and that's what we specialize in.
Well, I wanted to ask you a couple of things before we dive into our topic. And I forgot you are an accomplished jazz artist. Um, Shout out to our founder of CTR Media Network. Thank you for watching us, Dr. Tina. Hey, Dr. Tina. Um, One of the things I wanted to ask you, Vaughn, was about as we leave 2024 and go into 2025, are you seeing an uptick in audiobook production?
Absolutely. Audiobooks are the fastest and have been the fastest growing segment of the publishing industry for the last 5 years. Actually, sales have increased by double digits percentage every year, and it's expected to continue that way for the rest of the decade. So, absolutely, just like podcasts, audiobooks are absolutely the fastest growing segment in the publishing side. So, um, now the stats is 20% of readers in the US are audiobook only readers. So one out of every five people, and that's an old statistic, it's probably more like 2 out of 5 are audiobook only readers now. And that's continually growing just because of our lifestyle and how we consume content and the passivity of listening. So,
Yes. You and I are alumni of an app called Clubhouse.
yeah.
And in its heyday, there were millions of people listening to hours and hours of arguments, conversations, educational seminars on that app called Clubhouse.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine that flexibility that audio allows you to has changed at all, to your point. And I definitely know this stat that Black people specifically are listening to more podcasts than white folks now. We were at, so white folks, I believe it was like 27%. This is from Edison Research. And we were at like 23% in 2021. In 2022, we reached 28%. So 28% of Black folks listen to podcasts. And then we're I think it's 2023, we're at almost a 30, it was like 29 point something. But the point is that 30% of Black people, we say, listen to podcasts. And that's a lot of people. I believe it was like closer to 16 million. And the one other thing I thought was interesting, I wanted to ask you about also, is true crime podcasts were the top podcasts listened to. I'm wondering, in your work with audiobooks, is there a genre that has emerged as the most, we'll say, the most one you work with, or in your opinion, is there one that people listen to more than others?
I think for me, I focus on one, nonfiction, um, to in the entrepreneur world. So there's three M's. That if you have a method, a message, and or a memoir,
Oh, that's nice.
yeah,
Method, message, or memoir.
or memoir, or any combination of the three, which is usually the case. Um, those are probably 95% of my clients.
Mm,
What I've seen, because knowing and because I focus on self-narrating, the audiobooks, no one can send your message like you can. Uh,
yes.
it could be a great narrator, and I have a lot of narrating friends they're amazing. But still, no one can tell your story or your message like you can. No one, if you have a method that you've been gifted with to share, no one can share it like you can. And
Right.
of course, knowing your memoir, it doesn't matter how great the narrator or the actor is, no one can share your story like you can. So in that niche where I focus on, that's definitely you want that to be in your own voice. That's kind of what I emphasize. Um,
I agree 100%.
mm,
Um,
yeah.
definitely. The best person to do your audiobook rather is yourself.
Hmm.
Possible. One other thing that I was curious about, and then we'll jump into our scheduled questions from that we curated from different platforms. Um, I think that some people will say, my voice isn't right. So how can I do an audiobook, Martin?
Yeah.
And I'll say, and I've always said this as I met you, go talk to Vaughn.
Yeah,
What's your strategy to help or to encourage people who feel that they don't like the sound of their own voice?
absolutely. None of us like the sound of our own voice. We either learn to like it or just accept that we're the only ones that don't like it.
Yeah.
Because if you remember back in the day, some of us remember our answering machines. We would record our message 20 times to get it right. Welcome for calling the Foy. Thank you for calling Foy residence. We're not here right now, but if you leave your name and number, we'll get back to you. And we'll do that 20 times. I don't like how I say my Z's. I don't like how I say this. I sound nasally because we hear. I call it like the Peanuts effect. It's like womp 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 womp. We hear what's ringing into the chambers.
Yeah.
Everybody else hears all of the explicit, the T's and the S's. They hear all the detail, and so our voice does not. We don't know what we sound like until we hear our playback, and that's like, oh, I don't like my voice. But everybody else in the world, we don't prepare to talk to. Like I didn't prepare to speak on the Zoom. We don't prepare to, yeah, you practice to talk in public, but when we're calling on the phone, we don't. Our voice is our voice, and people know our voice, and so immediately when we think about recording in a microphone, we're like, oh, I don't like how I sound, but we've been talking our whole life and not thinking twice about it. So my thing is like, no, capture what you sound like and let people hear that, because again, everybody has a voice print that is unique like your fingerprint. And your voice print is what people recognize. You can call on the phone, you don't name the idea, doesn't even have to come up there. Oh, that's Martin. Oh yeah, hey man, what's up?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because of your voice. So
Like there's only one Chrisette Michelle or John Legend.
exactly.
I when I hear John Legend or Chrisette Michelle, I know it's them. It's like, how do you know? Because there's just nobody else.
Yeah, right.
They're very distinctive tones, very distinctive. And to some degree, I think people's cadence, right?
Absolutely.
How we measure. Um, I was never formally trained in radio, but I was put through a program when I was a child on how to
Mm,
speak. And
mm,
because of that, I didn't know that I lended myself towards radio. But
mm,
um, when I did we'll say voice test instead of a screen test, I tested well for radio. So I asked the station that I was interested in working at, could I, do a show or could at least do a sample? And in that space of listening to other people on radio and reading their ad copy,
hmm
when you read ad copy and like, how come I don't sound like
Yeah.
The Pontiac sales guy from, why do I sound like, and for me, it was New York. So I wanted to sound like this radio station, 1010 Wins. It was like 1010 Wins radio. Da, da, da. So anyway, I listened to them over and over and discovered the spaces people will use. They use space in between words and how that space, without the space, I sounded da, 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 da. With the space, I sounded more romantic and I felt like I flowed better.
Yep.
So that was all, self-training and stuff like that. But put that to the side for a minute and coming back to the concept of we're in 2025. Sorry, we're in 2024. We're in 2024. We're going into 2025. We want to thrive in 2025. So I have a list of questions I asked different folks about as far as when it comes to audio, what are they interested in and what are they looking for? And I'm interested in seeing what you have to say when it comes to these questions, these great questions. So one question was, do you think that Spotify's expansion into audiobooks will impact independent authors or narrators?
Absolutely. They've been in for about 2 years now. And interestingly, Spotify, they bought Findaway Voices, which is the major distributor of audiobooks. And up until then, I thought Audible was like 95% of the audiobook market. I thought like everybody, oh, you get audiobooks at Audible. And they've only been around from like 2008, I believe.
Right.
And how I found Spotify and Findaway Voices, and to answer the question, is because it was so challenging. I had one author. It took me 8 months to get live. One of my first authors 5 years ago. It took 8 months to get live on Audible because of the system that they had at the time. They've gotten their act together as far as that's concerned. But come month 5, when they kept shooting back and returning back my stuff, I said, it got to be another way. And I found Findaway Voices, and I found AweSound, which we may talk about. And I was like, oh, there's something else. And I learned that Audible at that time only had 65% of the audiobook market. There was all of these libraries and other global platforms in some countries that are even more popular than Audible. So to answer your question, Spotify did an amazing move in direct competition with Audible to bring in audiobooks. I think going along right with their ever growing with podcasts and everything, all things audio, music is just, it was a perfect move. So that helps out us authors, because now there is at least at this point, a much less crowded platform that you can be discovered on. That gives more options to where more people, if you're not, I've met a lot of people that are not on Audible, or they don't subscribe to Audible. Of course they have Amazon, but they don't have Audible. And some want to go to libraries, some want that for free. They get their audiobooks for free.
Right.
And Spotify did I thought a very wise and slick move with getting very, very neat, and open up the doors for us for other options. Very, very profitable options for authors.
Do you see that Findaway Voices will compete with Audible in the accessibility space, though? I think that Findaway Voices is excellent, competition, but I'm slightly concerned that they're not as ubiquitous. They're not everywhere.
Yeah. The thing that's, I think, the plus with Findaway Voices is because of the variety. You have 49 different audiobook platforms. Outside of, if you go Audible, especially if you go exclusive, which I recommend do not do exclusive with Audible. You want to do non-exclusive agreement so that you can be on Findaway Voices and even your own website. But Findaway Voices has like 13, 14 different libraries, like Hoopla. I know Hoopla is used throughout universities. It's used through educational and the workplace. And Biblioteca, Audiobooks New Zealand, Libro FM. So there's a whole library realm that actually is where audiobooks started at. And there is still a large audience that, as you know, still go to libraries.
Right. Yes.
Walmart is even doing audiobooks now. So just the diversity of where you can be discovered at. Yes, Audible, like I said, everybody's kind of used to and programmed to Audible, but you still have literally a whole nother world of people that would be interested in discovering your book on a platform where they're not paying a subscription. They don't need to download an app, and they don't have to pay anything. They can actually listen to your audiobook for free, and you will still get paid as an author. Matter of fact, libraries pay, I don't know if anyone knows this, but libraries pay 2 to 3 times more than retail does. So you're in a library, I don't know how they do it, but they pay 2 to 3 times more of the royalties. So you want to be in a library, one, so that if someone's getting it for free, I don't know how they do it, but they Findaway Voices tells you, if you're going to price $10 for your book on, Apple and Spotify and this and that, price it for $20 to $30 for libraries, because they pay twice as much.
That makes sense. And you brought something else. Shout out to our listener, Random Shorts and Videos. Thanks for tuning in. That made me think about, as we move into 2025, one of the big concerns of 2025 is TikTok going to be banned? And we know that our future president, past president, future president, has asked the Supreme Court to delay its ruling or delay the case or what have you. And we'll see what happens there. But based on that, we have this question, which is, with TikTok's growing influence on book sales, how can audiobook creators leverage TikTok for promotion?
Good question. Yeah, the audio is the reason why it's so powerful is because audio is passive. Audio is passive. That's why Clubhouse, that's why podcasts, that's why you can be driving your car, working out, cooking, napping. It's very passive. You can do multiple things while you're listening and consuming content. Jeff Bezos did have a quote. He said, audiobooks are for people whose eyes are busy. You shouldn't drive and read at the same time. Even with YouTube and video, your eyes have to pay attention to the screen when you're on Zoom. But like podcasts and like audiobooks, you can be doing anything in the house. Alexa, please play me this.
Exactly.
Play this audiobook. And you're doing whatever you're doing. So with TikTok, even video includes audio. So audio is it's embedded even in the video. What we're doing now, you can either be watching the screen or you can just be playing it and hearing. But audio is the important part. So with TikTok, even in the videos and the clips, people are, yes, they're scrolling through to see, but they're also listening to what's the content. Once I've got my eye captured, what am I listening to for that 30, 60 seconds, 90 seconds? And so with audiobooks, you can, one of the only strategies I have as far as how you can use audio is using clips of your book, of you reading your book or sharing your book. They can use TikTok in pulling clips and having whatever visual that you want to put along with it that grabs attention. A lot of the memes on the reels and the shorts and stuff like that are either motivational, and I'm coming from like the nonfiction motivation, self-help kind of way, but you can have it anyway. It's going to be the audio, what is being said. People, And what's going to be, you can use TikTok to be discovered, because all we're doing in marketing is positioning ourselves to be discovered by
Right.
those that are resonating with our message. So if someone
Exactly.
resonates and finds across it, like, what is he saying? Oh, I like that. That's where the like and share, because there's a resonation, and I discovered something that I resonate with. And, coming from a music, vibration, oh, I vibe with them. It's because something I found that I like, and that's how they're going to maximize on TikTok or any of the social medias. I'm positioning myself and my material and my message or my method or my memoir and to be discovered by the people that are going to resonate with what I have.
Right. And you brought up a good point that I want to flesh out even more, which is where technology advances have gone. And shout out to our folks that listen to us. Thanks, Nonprofit CEO. How do you see AI narration technology affecting the audiobook industry? I know that Amazon has put up, some guides and said, if let us know if this is an AI audiobook or AI written book, and if you don't, there'll be consequences. But I'm curious to see where you see the audiobook industry being affected by AI reading of audiobooks.
Yeah, this is an interesting question, and I'll give you, I think I have two, if not three, really points on this, because I have a client right now who has AI cloning her voice, and where I still have to edit it the same, listening through to see
Say
if
that
the
again. Say that again for the people in the back.
It's like we still have to edit it just as if you spoke it yourself. You have to listen through the whole thing to see where and if AI represents you well. How human is it?
Yes, exactly.
And I'm kind of beta testing this one too. AI is not going anywhere. It's going to get better and better. And it actually sounds pretty good now, but we're going into the Mission Impossible. It's going to sound like you. Here's my main thing about AI.
Yes.
It can sound like
Let's get Vaughn to say.
It can sound just like you, but it will not feel like you.
And you said something earlier about you didn't say soul, but you said something else. You used a word, I forgot to key in on that, because you said
the human, like AI doesn't have a body. I heard someone else, a narrator, a professional narrator, say that about AI. AI doesn't have a body. When I lean forward like this may affect even on what you're hearing. If I don't move and I just use voice, it'll sound like me, but you can't feel through the vibrations. The vibrations carry this forward movement. That is something that is captured by the microphone. Even if I go back, it doesn't have a body. AI doesn't have a body. So people, and then there's an edge of deception, because if someone discovers that, hey, that sounded like you, but when they give the little Scooby-Doo,
it's almost like Bart.
Yeah, it sounds like you. It was that AI, and if you're
right,
honest, you say, yeah,
it's almost as if the AI version, I'm going to be fully transparent. I am building an AI twin of me, but it will say AI Dr. Pratt. This is Dr. Pratt AI. It's not going to, there's doing full transparency. But as I build that AI version of myself, I am not quite liking it. Like, in other words, it's not quite, it's a weird feeling to see a facsimile of yourself without the Martinisms,
right?
And so, because it's like, hey, Vaughn, that's good to see you. I really like this conversation. It's not that bad, but it feels like it has my cadence. It doesn't have my timing, because I'm all over the place with timing, because my brain's like everything is happening in my brain. Like, I really want to talk about how Prince said to will.i.am that computer generated music is on the fifth dimension, because our dimension, what you just said about body and sound waves and energy, That's all energy. He's like, Prince felt that the fifth and seventh and eighth dimension, that kind of music that's what do you call it? I was right to my tongue. That's made by auto-tune and stuff like that. He felt it wasn't on our dimension. Basically, he didn't say it wasn't human, but he was basically saying because it doesn't resonate without that sound wave hitting our bones and our skin. And I do like that. And there's people that in Hollywood and also in theater, they teach you on Broadway to use your body for sound. And when that happens, you can't do that with AI. There's no, so it's not human, and it's on a different dimension, and so it doesn't hit. To your point, it doesn't hit the same way that me slowing down like this and saying, "Thank you, Dr. Tina, for saying that Dr. Tina just said that she enjoyed our conversation. Opening her mind, even when I can say mind." It's not gonna,
It's an expression.
But the AI version of Vaughn and Martin could have this conversation, and it would feel very. I think it would feel very. What do you call it? Not antiseptic, but very hospitally. It won't have the tension of two black men in America. Two chocolate black men in America. That tension won't be there in AI.
Exactly. And I'm glad you shared about that with the AI. I think there's a space for AI. I think like for textbooks, for subject matter that say professors are educating, I don't know, astrophysics or even maybe even history or something, where someone writes a book for educational purposes or informational purposes, and they want it by me and my cloned voice doing that. I think that's different, and I think there's a place for that. I think there's a place that saves time. It still brings it brings that, well, that's not you though.
Right.
But I think there's a place for that, to be at one place, like, your AI. I think that's fun to, the Mad Max kind of, somewhere else, somewhere else, hologrammy. And when people know about it, that's different. But I think the moment, especially with audiobooks, especially like what I was explaining earlier about a memoir or a method or a message, and if you're going to do AI, this is my opinion. If you're going to do AI in that way, have it in another voice. Like I would have it in another male voice. But as soon as I'm cloning me, now that goes to the edge of when someone says, "Oh, Vaughn, that sounded like you, but that didn't feel like you. Was that AI?" And I say, yes. They may never say it, but they're going to be like, "Well, why didn't you just do it? You're the voice. Why didn't you just take the time to do it?" And now there's a I thought it was you, but it's not. So what else are you sharing with me that's not you? Without saying it. Like it's different when you say, "Hey, this is my AI, Dr. Pratt."
Yes.
It's different than presenting this as, "This is me. Yeah, I did this work. I did this audiobook for you," and it's not. Do it in another voice in that case. That's because that edge of that's my.
I agree. My daughter, when she was born, I want to say, I'm trying to look up the book. I want to say we played, I think we played Letters from an Astrophysicist by Neil deGrasse Tyson. And so it was very monotone. She went to sleep. Like we played that and we went to sleep. We went to sleep. I mean, we when I say we, me and her, we knocked out. Woke up 2 hours later, Neil stood. So as a it was like, the asteroids come and it's like, so when you said that, I immediately thought of Neil deGrasse Tyson's book, and I would not have cared there was that AI Neil. But to that point, I wonder, because Neil has a very unique smirk in his voice. Like you can hear his smirk.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And so I don't want to get too far down the rabbit hole because when I'm feeling and I'm reading comments and I'm getting energy from the audience. But like Martin, you said, it's gonna be half an hour or so. But no, but I do want to come back to talk to you about it. I think in 2025 we should do just an AI conversation. I know it's gonna be so interesting. I want to move to our last question about AweSound because I think one of my superpowers is listening well and pulling out the nugget that no one else heard before that I can take and then share and then give credit to the person who gave me that nugget. So years ago, you dropped a nugget about AweSound.com. And I have been using this for the past 3 years to close deals. People have paid me money because I said, there's AweSound.com. And they're like, what? What's AweSound.com? Well, Vaughn, a voice actor, Vaughn Fahie, told me about it, and he suggests that we highly use that, along with BookFunnel.com. They would, oh, Martin, oh my God. They don't say Vaughn, oh my God. They say Martin, oh my God.
It's all good.
But I always give credit where credit is due. I ain't know ish about no damn AweSound until I was in my room and I heard you bring it up. And then BookFunnel. So I've been using that. That's like, I think I sent out 35 emails with those 2 links in it over the last 2 years, bro. So thank you so much for not gatekeeping and keeping that. The question I had was that what advantages does AweSound offer independent authors versus traditional audiobook distribution?
All right, we're gonna try to wrap this up quick. But coming from the approach as a independent musician, so like Prince and Adele, they sold their music on their website. They were like, we're not going through Apple, Spotify. Come straight to our website and buy directly from us. So that one, they've rid the middleman. They're not going to get 0.0002 cents per play or download. And when I found AweSound, which is AWESOUND, so like awesome but with sound.com, and AweSound is just like that, like how I sell my music on my page. Authors, and I think of audiobooks as authors' albums, and I think of each of their chapter as it's their single. So release the single, give everybody a free chapter, which is what you can do on AweSound. Gift everybody a free chapter, and it's like a trailer to a movie. So one of the advantages of AweSound is that you can do just that. Where on Amazon Audible and Apple Books, everybody else, you're limited to a 5-minute sample of whichever you pick. AweSound, you can actually gift. That sample can be how I use it with my clients is as a free chapter. You can also you can release or unlock any of the other chapters that you want. So say chapter 2 is more powerful and you want to release the introduction in chapter 2, you can unlock those. So when people go to your and I call it, you don't send them to AweSound, you send them to your exclusive audiobook link is the language we use. So you have an exclusive audiobook link. You go there and say, you tell your community and your readers or listeners, I'm releasing my audiobook. I'd love for you, in order to support me fully, I am for the next 2 months, my audiobook is only available on my exclusive link, and here it is. They go there, and I'm gifting you a free chapter. So all your social media, everything is like, I'm gifting my book is out, and here's a free chapter you can listen to. And they stream it. There's no app to download. There's no subscription to make, like Spotify and Audible. They go to your exclusive site and push play. And that's what you want people to do, is push play. Not only the free chapters. So now here's the other part. On Audible and everybody else is going to take 75% of the price that they pick. You cannot choose your price on Audible. In audiobook realm, you can't select your price. There's not even a place to say how much you want to sell it for.
Yep, they decide.
They decide. So you may want to sell it for
They
15.
decide where the money resides.
Yeah, exactly. And then they'll sell it for $5.99 or whatever the algorithm shows that, oh, people are going here. Well, let's sell more books. So you can't decide that. Anyway, whatever they decide, they take 75% of it. When you come here, AweSound, they only take 20%. So you keep 80% of whatever price. You can change the price every day. I'm speaking today, and so I'm going to make my sale $10 today of my audiobook. I'm going to get $8 out of that sale. I'm going to speak at this high end, blah, blah, blah. So I'm going to sell it for $20. So I'm going to get $16 out of that sale. I wanted to make sure that it's real low. I want to sell it for $5 today because I love everybody. We're going into 2025 and it's going to be $5. So you have full control.
Excellent marketing strategies. Excellent marketing strategies.
Total marketing strategies. And you're gifting people a free chapter. If your chapter is 12 minutes long, at minimum, you're getting people to pay attention. If they don't pay anything else or buy the book, but you captured them in their ears for 12 minutes, 20 minutes, however long their chapters are. And then finally, with AweSound, if all of that wasn't great enough, well, when people buy your book, because it's Stripe, you get the name and the email of everybody that buys your book. You're building your million. This is priceless. If you're a coach, if you're a speaker, if you're an educator, if you sell nutrition, whatever it is that your subject is, or whatever other things that you offer outside of your book, now you can go back and, oh, hey, thanks, Dr. Pratt, you bought my book today. Be on the lookout. My next book's coming out and blah, 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 blah. I'm speaking here.
Subscribe to my Substack,
Exactly.
where I'll be dropping snippets of my book. One of the things I want to talk to you about when you come back in 2025 is the trend towards novellas and short books, small copies, and what that looks like in audio. And I know we did it years ago in radio, so I know people will listen, but the question is, will they buy, right? So you get to do this with AweSound, whereas with Audible, you may not be able to experiment, we'll say.
Yep.
And it won't be cheap if you do experiment.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Vaughn, for coming. I'm looking forward to continue our conversation in 2025. Any last thought that you want people to know about?
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. And really, with your voice, if you're an author and you're published or you're about to publish, you want to use your voice. My suggestion is that you use your voice because people are going to push play on your voice quicker than they read something, and because it's passive. So get your voice out there. Even though if you don't like your voice, everybody else in the world does. And so push record so the world can push play. And that's really what I want to leave with it. And if you have a book, if you don't do an audiobook, you're missing out and you're ignoring 20% of the market just off the top at minimum. So get your voice out there.
Amen. You guys in 2025.
Thank you.